Pod Candy!
A podcast about cults, crimes, and killers.
You sign up for yoga, clarity, healing, maybe even a sense of purpose.
But Twisted Yoga on Apple TV Plus follows what happens when that search leads somewhere much darker.
The series centers on Gregorian Bivolaru, a controversial spiritual leader who built an international yoga movement that drew in thousands of followers.
Young people especially, traveling across countries, leaving their families, and fully committing to what they believed was a path to enlightenment.
But behind the teachings, former members describe a system of strict control over relationships, sexuality, even their sense of identity.
The doc tracks multiple women who say they were manipulated, isolated, and ultimately exploited within the organization.
And as authorities in Europe begin investigating, the story expands into allegations of human trafficking, coercion, and abuse.
What's so unsettling is how gradual it all is, how something that feels empowering at first slowly becomes something you can't question or leave.
It's a story about belief, power, and how far people will go in the name of both.
Twisted Yoga.
Outside my window, it's only raining. When the wind blows, I feel pain. I don't need no doctor, baby, I'm not sick. My body's been locked up, heartbroken ever since.
So we were talking before, and as I mentioned, I was pet sitting while I watched this one, and it was a couple weeks ago, and I mean, it was the only thing on. I wasn't working at the time. I was watching, but as we both discussed, like, names of this may be a little fuzzy. However, the one person that I do remember is that Ziggy. I'm just going to throw that out there from the get-go. Me likey Mr. Ziggy. Like I
Ziggy?
would follow him in the tantric world. You just name the country, and Ziggy, I will be there.
You know what's so interesting? Because we've discussed in the past that we've had experiences, and people can check out that episode that talks about our own experiences. It was in the earlier part of when we started doing this. The idea that, like, you are told something is going to be happening, like you're going to expand and it's going to go into the sexual stuff. And, across the board, all these women and men were like, I just kind of accepted it and just thought, well, I might as well stay on this path.
Yeah.
There have been times when I've said to myself, is this bad? Or, it's that discernment and knowing how to discern. But again, Twisted Yoga is like with a yoga guru who's, trafficking and taking advantage of people and manipulating them and sexually abusing them. It's just like any other situation. If you try and get out, or you insult it, or you say there's something wrong with it, they say that the devil is inside of you, or you're wrong. You're bringing your negativity onto this instead of trusting that. But it's the opposite. They're telling you not to trust your gut. Your gut is telling you that you're a hater. Same thing with all these other religions and stuff that where there's no sense of remorse or empathy or any sort of care.
I mean, so the crazy thing is, like, you like most of us, or I'm sure a lot of people, you go to yoga, like you want to like I'm not a yogi. I mean, I've been to many yoga classes. I was really into the bar method for like 2 years. So I think it is, like you're thinking, and I should say these schools are still around, right? Like, so like all these schools. So this is a part
all
of like,
over the place.
they're all over the world. So it's like essentially like yoga studios, like yoga enlightenment places that you go and you take classes. But then there is this like, oh, you want to get more into yoga. And there is this tantric side of it.
The next level.
Which is the next level, which is a sexual level. But I think it's also, like you mentioned too, like an enlightenment. Like you are so into your body and yourself. And again, I have never been like this where I'm that in tune with myself, where I want to, know more about myself. Like I'm good knowing on surface level about myself. But I think like what drew like Ashley, Ash, the one who,
I liked her.
I read was on the Australian version of The Bachelor.
Really?
Yeah, that's a little side note.
She was great.
Yeah, but she was kind of she was like the whistleblower really to, get what was going on exposed. But I think
I'm correct, she didn't have sex with
No, she never had sex with Gregorian.
Bivolaru.
Yes, she never. I'm just going to call him Gregorian.
But then she felt bad that she didn't experience it as bad as others did.
Right.
She was the whistleblower.
Right. But like, that's what I'm saying. So like you go to these yoga, like she's just getting into yoga and being very crunchy granola. And then it's like, yes, there's this next level. And she's like, well, of course, like she likes the people around her. She's trusting. It is a part of trust. I do want to say that she she liked the people. She liked the classes. She's like, yes, I want to experience more. I want to go to that next level. Little do these women know that next level is giving up your passport, swearing on a Bible.
Oh, that is so scary.
That you will never disclose what happened in these, however long, I guess, retreats with this Gregorian, which is essentially a sex cult.
The first thing they did is they went through all of our bags and they looked for certain things, maybe an extra phone or some other paperwork, and they took anything, any identifying details and any electronic devices. And then they introduced the program and they said, you'll eventually be taken to meet Greg, but before that happens, there's all of these other things you need to do.
I had to do the vows, again, putting my hand on the Bible and taking those vows on my health and my spiritual evolution, that I would never speak of anything that happened there. And then I had to write on these forms agreeing to punishments. One of the things I had to sign was agreeing to the punishment of shaving my head for 5 years immediately if I was caught trying to steal any of the secret teachings from the house. And knowing that in Tantra, sexual initiation was a thing, I had gathered this impression that it was likely that sexual initiations were happening and that the spiritual guide was probably engaging in them.
I knew that it would be a sexual initiation. And here was this opportunity for, beyond satisfaction, a kind of ultimate happiness and enlightenment. It was a promise. You will experience these things and everything will change.
It is a sex cult. And, the typical language of cults is, like when somebody said to me when she was trying to convince me to buy these tapes so I could listen to the self-help guy, Bob Proctor.
Let's not even give Bob Proctor a shout out. Fuck you, Bob Proctor. Fuck
Bob
you.
Proctor may rest in peace. I don't know. So, but the thing is,
all right, R.I.P. Bob Proctor.
You know what there is? So you're the whole thing about enlightenment is hearing your own, listening, taking your power, listening to yourself, hearing your own gut, and responding to that. That's what the enlightenment is at being able to get inside of yourself. But what they do is they do the opposite, and they tell you not to listen, and that, you're saying it's expensive. I can't afford this. And that's just noise. That's just preventing
So
you
it's
from
like,
getting to that place.
So are they at, like, because you've done this, are they saying to you, like, don't trust your instinct? Like, don't trust.
Don't,
Okay.
if you trust your instinct, then you cannot be manipulated. If you have too much of a, as John says to us, Dr. John, all the time, that, like, people that are sane and well and in touch can discern, and then can say, no, my gut is telling me this, and walk away. And it's not that these people aren't smart. It's just that they get to a point where you are told, if you don't buy into whatever it is, spiritual, the Bikram yoga, doing it 4 times a day, and then not eating anything, and then doing this, and then doing that. If you don't do that, then you are not giving in to what they're asking you to do, which means you won't get healed or enlightened.
Or that spiritual enlightenment that we hear about in the religious cults, all of that.
Mormonism and IBLP, and it's Christian. It's spiritual manipulation. And it's using spirituality as a weapon against the people that are trying to find spirituality. I've been doing a lot of research into this. Plus, I do take Pilates from a very enlightened teacher who talks about power and internal stuff and listening and feeling. And it's, it gets me into that, mode of you cannot, if you don't hear your own gut, you can't rely on the other person to give you enlightenment. That's not what it's about. But so that's how they trick you. That's how they manipulate you.
But you're doing the Pilates more for physical, like bettering your body. Let me ask you, have you ever been to, because I know you do work out quite a bit. Have you ever gone to a yoga retreat or a Pilates retreat? And because I've had friends who've traveled to do that, in India, and they've gone to.
I did. Only in college did I do some retreats that involved yoga and meditation, but they were in no way, they didn't feel cultish or anything like that. I have never gone on a spiritual retreat, but I also belong to a yoga studio and a Pilates studio. And in neither place do I feel attached, or I'm not allowed to leave, or I have to do this in order to get that. I don't feel that way about these places, but I've been to places like Bikram when I used to do that 20 years ago. Did I tell you guys I used to clean the studio?
No, wait, you used to clean? Was that your spirit? Was that the way you would get to your spiritual enlightenment?
I was trying to figure out, first of all, I got free yoga, but the flip side of that is that I had to clean the studio, which meant vacuuming, cleaning out the humidifiers, cleaning the toilets, the showers, everything, all clean. And that was part of my job. Now, I tried. This was a lesser thing, but we know that Bikram has had some issues. They do ask a lot of you at that place. They ask for more than just going to the classes.
So is it every studio, or was it just the Bikram studio you went to?
It was the Bikram studio.
Is Bikram in its all encompassing? Is that also that they, because it seems like it's similar to this, they ask you kind of to give up your life. Is that what Bikram is too?
Yes. And I didn't experience that myself, but when I was cleaning and then I wanted to not stop cleaning, and then they didn't want to let me out of that. You know what I mean? So it's there was a little bit of,
who else are they going to, what other schmo are they going to get to clean the studio?
My grandma goes, I'll pay you to not clean the studio. And I was like, but Rosie, that's not the point. The point is that I'm trying to do something for myself to get something. Yeah.
I mean, I worked at the Murdering Brown's Chicken in high school, and I cleaned their toilets, but it wasn't part of any enlightening. It was before the murder, but I always call it the Murdering Brown's Chicken because that's in Illinois, amazing. And there was the big murder.
That's amazing. So
I also I just have a question, because with your
Pilates,
but it kind of because you're kind of more in that I guess that realm than I am. Yeah. But with this documentary, I always say, would I ever do this? And no, I would not get into that much, because it's just not my jam at all. But I did find, and I don't remember her name, but all these women that were interviewed were yes, like I was into it, and then we were naked walking around, and that was okay because you're told to love your body and then the sex part. But that one woman who was kind of the one where, remember, they asked her, like, oh, is Gregorian, is it a cult? Did he mind manipulate? And she's like, you could tell she doesn't believe that. Like, I guess
the one that was sitting in the chair with the multicolor.
Yes, more
I know
of
what
a
you're talking.
naysayer. So, like,
she couldn't admit it. She loved every second of it.
Yes. So is
Andrea?
Andrea. Yeah. So is she? I don't know. I would think, like, if you, Stacey, put yourself in that predicament, being a yogi yourself, being into Pilates, like, and then 10 years out of it, 5 years out of it, would you be more of an Andrea, or would you be more of an Ashley with the Bikram? Like, because you did have to clean and you did have to do all of that to be a part of it.
I faked that. I faked that because I can't buy into anything like that fully. You know what I mean? Now, I could see myself following this Pilates teacher in a certain capacity, but I don't see myself falling into that kind of thing because I don't want to give myself into any one activity that much. Do you know what I mean?
So we're not going to find you in like 5 years following this Pilates teacher to like Europe,
right?
To have like sex orgies.
Yes,
but on your Pilates reformer,
on the reformer,
but having some sex with a group of ladies and one gentleman.
Well, okay, kid, and I should say this. You will not find me, but if I am missing, the first place you should look is yoga and Pilates. After that, I don't know where the fuck I am. After that, I'm just dead in a ditch.
How many hours a week do you give to
3 hours for Pilates, 2 hours for yoga, 3 hours for weight training. Strength training.
8 hours a week is what good for you, because I have to say we are women of a certain age.
Yes, we are.
And it's very important that women in their 50s, even though Dr. John is so much younger than me,
he's in his 30s.
He may not understand, but women of a certain age, especially, like, I do a lot of like walking, but I'm bad at the weight part. Like, and that is the main part as women in their 50s, that they should be. So that kudos to you, Stacey.
But listen to this, Dori, because you asked me a question, and I just had a flashback to college when I was really into American Indian sweat lodges, and I did a peyote ceremony.
Ayahuasca, yeah.
People out there, please don't judge me. But I was searching for spirituality. You know what I mean? I was searching for a connection, and it might have come from dance. Then with some friends about 8 or 10 years ago, I used to do acro yoga, which is like a 2-person yoga thing, but that also skirts the line. And they were sort of doing it in the yoga. They were like moving, but this would be like lifting and circling. And, I did all this shit, but part of me was always slightly grossed out. So like I said, I can't fully commit to any of these things cult wise,
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Well, no, it does, because like in spirituality too, when I was younger as well, I was also looking for spirituality. Like, I never went to temple. Like, I wasn't like that type of a person. And to this day, I'm not into that. But I started going to church, like regular church with friends, because they had a band there, and it was just, I would listen to the guy in jeans speak, and then they start showing, like, after like a month, I'm going, like, I would go like every Sunday or Saturday, I don't even remember, and then they started showing people getting born again. And that's where I drew the line. Like, I called it theater church. I thought I was going to something.
You thought you were going to see a show.
But it was, yes. But it was.
What kind of church was it?
I maybe like an evangelical church. Like,
I bet
it
you were
really
at
was a born, like, where they were like,
Yeah.
you would get born again, but they opened up the doors to everybody. But when you said that about enlightenment, and I think that goes with this twisted yoga, I think the innocence of these people talking about it, like, so I do get that part of it. Like, you're searching, you're looking
Yes.
for something that gives meaning to your life.
It was exactly what I was looking for. So I signed up to the classes. And they warn you, they say this course will change you. You will change on this path. That will happen. That's going to happen. And I wanted what they had. The way that they teach it is for you to visualize the activation of a chakra and the energizing of certain parts of your body. I was so committed, like I would not miss a class. They talk about the telluric energies coming up from the earth. You imagine balancing happening in your body, you imagine things becoming unstuck, you imagine opening and expansion. It's more than just stretching the muscles. There's something spiritual going on in that process.
And then you find twisted yoga, but that's not what it was called. You find this yoga technique and you're like, here's what and then you start doubting yourself, but then you're like, no, this is what you've been looking for. Keep following it, keep following it, keep following it, keep going. You know, and as with all these things, it's an isolating situation where you keep getting isolated. You know what I mean? From the outside world. People don't know where you are.
Why do I have a feeling that the doctor has never gone for any type of spiritual enlightenment?
He's twisted himself. He's twisted.
He does his tantric yoga with himself.
Yes. He was doing it actually. He's wearing a leotard right now.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's a unitard. I think it's
a unitard, red spandex unitard. And he's eating a donut as usual.
He really wanted to get into the actual, the spirituality of this one. So he'll sometimes dress up. I think we should let him out because I know he may want to contradict that we don't think that he's very enlightened, but who knows?
Dr. John, having a Dunkin' Donut.
Creaking the door open here. And somebody left a Dunkin', my favorite coffee, in the green room. With some delicious and fresh donuts. It's really great.
I did not know.
Maybe it was Gregorian. Maybe he melded some.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I wanted to remind you guys before John, did you see in episode 3, he was going,
yes.
And
when he was being interviewed.
Officials were like, laughing.
He was he was like kind of like almost throwing up, but it was too
disgusting.
Like do like a mind thing on camera when he was being interviewed. He's one of those that obviously
he was supposedly sending a message out to all his followers by that froggy like kind of face he was
like
doing.
Vomit face.
Yeah. Oh, it was bizarre. And
the
anchors, the news anchors were laughing at him
right on camera. Funny. It's weird.
Which is what is, this documentary angered me. First of all, you both are so good at picking these cases because, I kind of, Dori, is a little bit like you, when you both sent me the assignment, I'm going, oh, yoga, But I couldn't put it down. I have This is the most notes I've written on any of our episodes.
He has pages. Wait, can I also say, you have pages? Can I also say, too, what we did not bring up is the fact that this Gregorian guy is so unappealing, unattractive, and the fact that these women, lovely women, were coerced to having tons of sex with him. He is the only man who is having sex with these younger ladies. And they even said, I was not attracted to him. A couple of them said, this is not, but they were into the mind, the manipulation of him.
Well, I think what's important for the audience to know, and I totally agree. I mean, I totally agree with you, both of you. What an unappealing man. But remember, they all talked about this process that the yoga was teaching them, the transformation, where you then saw your tantric partner in a whole different sphere. And they became almost neon and colorful.
They had the aura about them then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, mind manipulation. It's just creating a hallucination so that you can have sex with this ugly. He looked, for the audience sake, who's not going to watch the documentary, he looked like Woody Allen with long hair. It's like a long, grayish Woody Allen kind of looking guy. Which
crazy hair.
So yeah, sorry,
Woody.
Woody, but you're not a very handsome guy.
Don't be sorry to Woody. We have our own issues with Woody Allen and his pedophilia as well, his molesting.
But there's so much to talk about this documentary, and what a doozy, as we say. And first of all, as I always start with, it was a good documentary. I thought it was well made. But again, this is where we come in with, the hows, the whys, and the wheres of what was going on. And you both brought up such great points that I was dying to talk about. And one was, I think it was Stacey was talking about the money involved. It always astounds me when I'm watching these documentaries that I'll take Ash. She's from Australia. She travels to Europe. That plane ticket is not cheap. And all the traveling she's doing and to follow this yoga before she was, living with them. Where's all the money coming from these people? Where are they getting the money to back their spiritual journey? It reminds me, this is a tangent.
Always money.
So apropos here, do you remember the Eat, Pray, Love phenomena? The book and the movie that came out?
I couldn't get through the book. I got through Eat, and then I didn't do Pray or Love.
It's ridiculous. When that came out,
get through it.
I had a lot of patients saying to me, "Oh, isn't that's the path?" Especially patients who had lost, whether it was divorce or somebody dying in their life, and they said, "Well, this is the journey you should go on." Yeah, if you got a couple $1 million to travel around the world, and
but if you're not willing, you're not in it. If you're not willing, see, this is how they get you to pay for this stuff.
And they make you, as we've seen through some of these other cult documentaries too, like people mortgage their homes, they use their credit cards, like anything. But like Stacey was cleaning, the whole studio for the Bikram. Who knows? Maybe like a lot of these people are getting free yoga because they're doing things for the biz.
Protecting him.
Reading between the lines, I think that's exactly, they weren't paying for their free yoga, because these are all attractive, great body on these women. There wasn't a single chubby, overweight, unappealing looking women. Hello.
Well, because they're just doing yoga 24/7.
Yeah, and screwing. It was. It's just, the whole thing to me was mind blowing. That I was so angry, and I'm really holding back. Our policy is not to diss the victims, but it's so hard for me to watch something like this and not shake my head and going. And you both mentioned it. What are you thinking, girls? what are you thinking? You're a pretty, attractive individual, and you're following this bizarre person and these
But you
bizarre
get
teachings.
it, you have the community there, right? Like you're there,
Right.
all your friends are there. Like you literally create that world there. And then it's like, oh, there's a next level. Great. I'll go to Romania. I'm going to go meet this guru. And then it's obvious that Ash was one of the ones, as soon as she got there, she listened to her inner self. She's like, this is weird.
Right.
Where the other women were more so like, well, it's weird. However, Ashley is like, you know what? I'm not going to deal with this. But that's one of so.
But it took Ashley a long
month,
time.
over a month. Yeah.
It
Being
did.
there, right.
And I wanted to pop in. She left it at the point where that night she was supposed to do her transformation, or whatever they called it, and have sex with a Gregorian. And she said,
Yeah.
"Whoa, I don't know. I'm not ready for this."
Yes.
Some
I'm
lightning
surprised
bolt
they
hit
let her go.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not easy, but I'm surprised.
Because they take their passports from them when they go. Wait,
right.
John, can you talk about a little bit about the transformation? Like what exactly like that is? Because I know essentially it is just sex with Gregorian, right? Like that, and the peeing, and talk about the peeing as well. Like the
one of the
we have
things
a lot
that
of we have a lot of golden showers.
A lot
episodes.
of golden shower talk.
More than golden showers, they were ingesting the urine. They had a ritual at the upper levels. At the upper levels for these women, where they would pee in a golden cup, and then they would share it in their tantric yoga experience.
But then there was this other one that they did right at the end of the month. It was called an integration. And almost all of the women in the villa were planning to participate. You had to put your name down if you were going to participate in the integration. And if you weren't going to participate, then you had to leave the building for the duration of the few hours that it was going on. And then they started talking about the technique, which is using the urine, which they called the golden elixir, which is where you're exchanging the golden elixir. You're exchanging the urine after at least 45 minutes of lovemaking or charging, so that it's then charged. And that's how you supposedly integrate the qualities of the partner. It's like the ultimate kind of connection and closeness, because you are then drinking and embodying these qualities of your partner. I didn't want to. I didn't want to. So I sat in the room for it and went into the room. They had all it was all kind of ritualized. And then it was just an orgy. It was just a massive orgy of all these women, no men. And I just sat there watching in a kind of a meditative posture and just observed. And then they start passing a bowl around and they're all collectively peeing into the bowl. And then they're bottling it afterwards into these little vials so that they can put a couple of drops in their water so that they can keep embodying the qualities. I seemed like I was the only one that didn't want to. But I rationalised it as, well, I'm not evolved enough. Maybe one day I'll be more evolved, I'm just not there.
When I first did it myself, it grossed me out. And I had a moment of being like, what am I doing? You know, it felt weird, but there was also this sense of love and acceptance at a very deep level.
It was certainly intriguing, but I think I was also just nursing or holding on to all the shame that I couldn't bring myself to be involved. And
so you would have liked to have been able to?
I would have liked to have wanted to. I wanted to want to.
That's one of the things that hit me, the most. And It was just, that's what I'm sitting there going, you got to be kidding. Which brings me back to your question. Have I ever gone on a spiritual journey or anything remotely like this? Absolutely not. And
I figured as much.
We all thought we thought as much.
Yeah.
but here's the key, and this is such one of the big lessons for our audience. How does this happen? I talked about, mommy and daddy are footing the bill for Ashley to go to all this stuff, which I would have loved to seen her parents or one of these people's parents interviewed and say, what were you thinking, shelling out plane fares and hotel rooms for these girls to live around the world and follow their spirituality? But here's the most important point, and this is very important for the audience to listen to. This follows, and it's an old psychological principle called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You might remember that from college or high school. And what it is that you can't pursue this kind of enlightenment or spirituality unless you have the ability to do it. You're not in what Maslow called a survival mode of life. And I'm sorry, to answer, I didn't mean to make fun of the fact that I've never gone on a spiritual journey, but growing up, I was, as a poor kid, I was always in a survival mode. I didn't think of spirituality. I thought about paying my tuition the next week, at Friday before 5 o'clock, before the bursar's office closed. So if you're at the level of your human development where you're on survival mode, which so many of us are, us working stiffs every day, putting in, bill got to pay bills, you're in debt, this and that, the other thing. And you don't have time or the energy or ability to be pursuing a higher level of existence. And that's what's behind these girls. If you look at between the lines of all these women that were interviewed, they had the wherewithal to just be pursuing this. They didn't have jobs that they had to report to. How many times has Dori told us, hey, I got to work. I can't make this taping. I'm going to work. That's what I'm talking about in terms of hierarchy of needs.
Right.
At the base level, it's survival. And so many of us are caught in survival. That's why we can't comprehend all this search for spirituality and enlightenment.
Well, also too, like, the attractive man that I mentioned at the beginning, that's Ziggy. Like, he's a man. So they didn't go
Dori's hottie of the episode.
My hottie of the episode. But so the women, obviously, there are men who go to again, these yoga centers are everywhere. They're still around. They're all over the place. But Ziggy was shocked when he heard that this was going on with the women. But in your point, John, with the who's footing the bill, there's obviously a lot of these young people, probably older too, that do seek this type of enlightenment. And I think, and not that all yoga studios are going to prey upon these people, but yeah, any money that they're probably making are going to, they kind of know it is a bit of a mind fuck, because it's like, you do believe in your body, you want to get stronger, you're trying to be physically better, but also yoga does have that mental with the physical and emotional, all of it.
Right.
I have to pop in and say, speaking of my spiritual journey, I was really intrigued, Dori, by the bar method of yoga that you pursued. I kind of think I would be attracted to that. Is that like doing shots at the local tavern?
Yeah.
Or, is it the bar
you just
method?
Move your hand. No, it's actually though putting your hand it's putting your hand lightly on a bar.
Okay,
and then
boomer.
And then sinking low and letting your legs shake.
Really,
or we
really
could add while
movement.
You're taking a shot of tequila.
I did also have an experience because you guys are, as you're talking, I'm like, things are starting to remember stuff. There's always a large amount of a buy-in for whether it's an MLM, a religious thing, a cult, like a yoga cult or something. There's always this buy-in of putting forth money, as you saw in Gwen Shamblin, our very first. They had to buy the books. You have to all this buy-in, and then you're on the hook and you're buying. So what does everybody think of? And it's a similar thing, but these people that consider themselves coaches, life coaches, there's a buy-in with that. I was on the path to doing that. And then, I was kind of getting that same feedback of, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, then you're not really ready for this. Then that gets in your head. So it's a similar thing, but
it's an old concept, Stacey.
Yeah.
Even going way back to Freud,
Mhm.
there is treatises of Freud talking about how his patients, and remember, he invented this whole thing of therapy and the whole psychological state of being, and which reminds me to talk about ego that they used throughout this, because that's so Freudian. Anyway,
yes,
Freud had a treatise where he said that it's important for the patients to pay. And when you're in school, you're going, well, we're all here to do good, and I'd give it out for free. And his principle was, if you don't pay, if you don't have a buy-in, like you're talking about, then you don't have ownership, which is important. The person has to have ownership into the experience. And so that goes back all the way to the 1920s, when Freud, kicked off this whole therapy business.
But it's not just in psychology, though. We talk, like you said, the MLMs, or like what I, we're all talking about our personal stories too. The Hollywood hustler, what I went through with my former college roommate. It's that money from the beginning. Like they get every. I just will say, almost like they're almost like all scams. I mean, I know that we do things to better ourselves all the time. And even like education, you have to pay up front. So I'm not saying like everything is a scam, but all of these, everything is built on this, like pay up front, and then you are invested. And then you're even if you have that feeling inside of you, I shouldn't be doing this, I shouldn't be doing this. It's like, but I've invested so much, and a lot of that investment
and
is
there's
monetary.
that pressure.
Yeah,
right.
It's a hook. It's a hook.
Yeah,
you just said it, Dori, so eloquently, which is that, well, I've paid all this money, I've invested so much.
Right.
I have to see this through. I have to see this through.
And then there's more money. I mean, Scientology is the same. Scientology, you got to buy in. I mean, you got to pay all this money for all this training and books and all these things.
Xenu needs his cha-ching. Xenu.
Yes.
Xenu needs to be paid.
Well, and I'll tell you, and another extremely important lesson for our audience is that I can't tell you how many patients I treat where people are in relationships or bad situations, and this whole idea of, I've invested so much in this, I can't get out.
Right.
It's like throwing everything away. And I have to sometimes jump up and down with people and say, so what? What's the rest of your life and the rest of your happiness worth, rather than, okay, all this stuff that you've had invested in.
I mean, it's similar to getting married, having a huge wedding, and then being like, I can't really get divorced because all these people gave me gifts and gave me presents.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You gotta cut bait. Right.
But I remember my parents saying to me at one point, like, you gotta forget about the financial interest in these things, and you've got to decide how you want to live and how you want your life to live. I financial investment, you should say. The investment of money creates that feeling that Dori was talking about. That you're hooked. You're hooked. And audience, forget about it. Get out of a bad situation, no matter if it's a horrible, stupid yoga or a wedding or whatever it is, or a bad relationship. Once you've had a baby, you don't want to bring it somewhere. You want to commit to the baby. Well, it's sad. And here's another thing that I see so often is that, and forgive me, my teammates and friends, but a lot of women get caught up in a relationship where, the man is the provider and
the breadwinner, and they can't get out of the relationship because financially they're absolutely stuck, and that's legitimate.
And that's that's a small version of a cult where, you keep the person, you take away their credit cards and you
control,
keep them dependent. And that's how people control their spouse.
I want to know, Dr. John, because I mentioned that Andrea woman, who to me is the most intriguing person of the whole documentary, because
she never gave it up.
She never gave it up. She never said that. So what is your take on her?
Look what I had on my whiteboard. Remind me to talk about Andrea and the
she's got major cognitive dissonance.
Do you think he's a criminal guilty of those crimes?
There's a yes in my system, and also the story's complicated. But ultimately the responsibility lies with him. For me, I went in because I wanted to. Like, I really, really wanted it. So I never felt that I had to do anything against my own will. It was 100% my choice. But at the same time, there was a huge underlying pressure for a lot of people to do things against themselves and against their will and against their boundaries, because there wasn't really that safety to say, actually, I don't want to do this.
And again, I apologize for dissing a bit our victims, but I don't know if we consider her a full victim rather than complicit in this whole thing. Complicit, very important for Andrea, because throughout the interviews that she had in the documentary, it's like she wouldn't say anything against Gregorian or the abuse or anything. She was in hook, line, and sinker. And the thing the lesson for our audience is, she kept saying in a couple of the interviews with her, I gave up everything to contribute to this cult. We're going to call it a cult, to the yogi, the guru. It was my all. I gave it all. Even so much so, I don't know if both of you interpreted this, but did you feel that she had like a faux tan? I mean,
I don't know if I thought of that. A faux tan.
Well, you see her early
you notice
pictures.
a lot of interesting things.
Like, yes,
spray tan?
All of a sudden, her early pictures, she was very kind of natural and pale. And then in the interviews what would you say at today's time interviews, she's got this spray on tan.
That's going to be me coming back from Cancun. I'm so pale now. I'm going to come back after next week. I'm going to be like Andrea.
Well, my point is, reading between, I can't help but, reading this and going, is she trying to be Indian? Is she trying to be like
to
Middle Eastern or whatever?
So I don't know about, I honestly, that never even crossed my mind, but so remind me, so she's not still in it, right? Like she did.
No, I don't think she's in it anymore.
No, but she doesn't condemn it either.
She doesn't condemn it, but I'm wondering why she was chosen for this, because she wasn't necessarily saying fabulous things about it, but she never said really negative things about it either. So I'm wondering why she was chosen.
Well, I wonder if that was the documentarian's way of being fair. Here's a woman that she didn't say scarred. I would say Andrea is scarred by this just as much as everybody else, because she kept saying, again, I gave everything. And, now
she didn't want to give up.
I find this emptiness in my life. And I miss that. I miss that spiritual journey, etc.
But isn't that kind of being in the cult, like when people leave it and they do have that loss, that true loss, because they were so invested?
Exactly so. And that to me is damage. That is the damage that people like this have to carry. And Stacey said it earlier, and reminded me that these journeys, whatever it may be, shouldn't be everything in your life. It should be a part of your life.
Right.
As much as Stacey's doing hours and hours of work on herself and her body, it's still 8 hours. And there's 166 hours of our week, and it's 8 hours. In retrospect, that's fine. It's great. I think you saw me applauding from the green room when Stacey was talking about all the hours she spends on herself. That's great. But it's not excessive.
Should I give more? Maybe I need to do more on my. Should I go and join? Maybe I need to go and travel to Romania.
I'm not going to comment. on
Dori,
that.
All it will take you is $1,500 up front, and I'll bring you to Pilates.
So is Gregorian, is he so obvious? So the one thing I wish that they would have had, maybe somebody who like worked there now to
like
talk
who
about,
teaches the yoga? Who
still teaches there, because they have multiple places. I would like to know that, but also Gregorian, he's still is he in France? Was he locked up in France? So he's still there, right? Is he still in prison?
Was he ever a yogi? Is he a yogi?
Interesting.
Who teaches the class?
What's his education?
What is the yoga?
What did he?
That's my problem with the documentary, which I was going to bring up, which is like, I have no idea. The through line was, we were hearing from her, hearing from Andrea, hearing from Ashley, hearing from Ziggy, hearing from that guy, hearing from that, and then reading subtitles. And I was like, where are we? What is actually happening?
Yeah.
Here?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you.
It wasn't.
I agree. I liked it.
Me too. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was very compelling. But like you, I wasn't that like enthralled. Like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like if it were a book, I wasn't like turning the page to the next one.
I got more angry. I got more angry at it. And again, this is why Pod Candy exists. We're filling in some of the blanks and asking the questions that everybody would ask of a documentary like this. Is that, what was his training? And again, isn't this something we come to a lot with the cases we discuss? You're following people that, what's their credibility here?
Not a therapist. He's not a this. He's not a that.
Well, and all these people never met him until they went to basically have sex with him.
Yeah.
So like they're under this understanding that this guru is around, but only some. And Stacey's making that frog vomiting face that everybody should Google that interview of his.
It's in episode 3 around the mid. I had to watch it yesterday. I was going to actually show it, but can I just run a quote by you that I copied from? I rewound it about 25 times to listen to this quote. Can't remember who said it, but it resonated with me. And now I have no idea why. So maybe you guys can tell me why. Only if you lose your fear do you have the power to take their power.
Wait, and this was in the documentary?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I remember it.
I
believe it was Ashley said it. Ash said it, that she was taught in the, what do you call them? Bakrams or whatever, yoga studio.
You mean in the yoga sutras?
Yeah. She said
the yoga
that was something she was taught.
So the fear, though, wouldn't losing the fear mean actually like that's a like that's kind of like a negative reaction. So the only way you're going to move forward is by releasing any type of almost negativity in your mind.
Well, right. Let me explain from a criminal analysis of this, that fear is control. When you put somebody in a state of fear, you have control over them. And what that statement is talking about is that when you give up fear, nobody can really control you because they can't elicit that in you and they can't subjugate you. It's like you can do whatever you want. I was writing a line in a screenplay that I'm writing, I was writing it last night, and this person was going to, torture a person to get information from, and the guy says, "Do whatever you want. I don't have no fear. I have nothing to fear." So you can do whatever you want, and it's
You're
sort of
right.
like,
When you do have nothing to fear, you do have your power. You
yeah,
have your power. I think that's why I liked it because, so again, with the Pilates, she's always talking about, let go of whatever that thing is you're afraid of, so that
yeah,
you can get into your power. She even said it today right before I left to come here, which was really weird. And I swear she's not a cult leader. But
oh, she is. We're going to be doing this time next year. We're going to be watching the documentary on your
Pilates, on my Pilates. No, I have to say, it is really, I was, a dancer for years, and it is the one thing that has gotten me back connected with that thing that I used to understand when I dance. Like I don't dance anymore like that. So this is bringing me closer to that, but that's all.
And but it is. It's great physically for you. Like
it's great.
Listen, I'm not a naysayer of working out, Pilates, yoga. Like I've gone through all of it. Like, like I think it's great. But I do think obviously something like this, where it is your life and again, it can be your life, but like you don't have it ruling you. You don't make decisions based on what these people do and say.
Exactly.
A couple of things I want to say. One silly and one very, very important before we run out of time. And the silly one is this. I wish I could remember the television show where this kind of smart-ass, smarmy woman was talking about yoga, and she made the following comment. Yoga? Isn't that something we did before gym class? Stretching, obviously. Yeah, I just thought that stuck in my mind. And the way she said it, she was an African-American woman on some sitcom, and she's, yoga? That's what we used to do before. Yeah. Okay, important thing, which we haven't talked about. So important. We should have a bell. Ring, 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 ring. The sex tapes, the sex site that all the girls were forced to.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Let me explain to the audience.
God,
that's how they make a lot of their money.
That's how he's making money. Sex tapes without their knowledge.
When they were at the level, the highest level, they were forced to be actresses on a
total sex site.
Total sex, masturbation, paid site.
After the initiation with the spiritual guide, I was exhausted, disoriented. I felt really shaky, and I think I was even physically shaking. But then one of the coordinator women, she approached me. She said, "I'm part of a very special women's integration. It's all women, but it's in a different location. We've got a swimming pool. It's near a really nice city, and people call it the Garden of Miracles." And then she said, "Now that you know these things that most people don't know, you have a responsibility. It's your responsibility to not lower your consciousness and go back to doing things the way that you did them when you didn't know." She asked me if I was interested, and I said yes. And so we went together to the bus stop in Paris. It was my first chance to sleep for like almost 42 hours probably. Then when we got to Prague, we were taken to a suburban house on the main line heading out of Prague. They sat me down and they explained to me what would be happening in the house. We would do erotic rituals in the morning. And then after that, you had to do a 4-hour shift. 6 days a week on a camgirl site. The way that they spoke about it is that because we were doing the rituals in the morning, that energy from the rituals was going to amplify our power and our magnetism in karma yoga and on the site. And we were going to be able to transmit that energy to the people watching us and to the paying clients, so that then these men could hopefully start to connect to an energy beyond the base sexual energy. The idea of karma yoga is that it's selfless service and you're offering for a greater purpose. We were going to be saving their souls in a way.
That's where they made their money for all. They had houses around the world. They had compounds.
So, Stacey, you're lucky that you just had to clean. Think
Yeah,
about if you had to show your vagina all over Dodge in that Bikram yoga studio. So, are those sites, John? Do you know, like, can they sue them for like recording them, making them do these sites? Like, because it's still out there, right? Like all these women.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
They were being filmed, John.
Oh yeah, they volunteered. You sign
it, right?
Yeah. This is what so angered me. They're all about spirituality and enlightenment and purity of life. And then they all willingly volunteered to be on these vile, gross sex sites. Because, and there was a line, and maybe you guys remembered it, something about, well, it was spreading the teachings to the men who are, ignorant. It's like, what?
Through porn sites?
On porn sites,
Oh my gosh.
Masturbating for them, putting things in their body, objects in their vagina, etc. To get men off. It's not about.
My vagina's tired just listening to this.
It's a great line. Well, anyway, you better.
I think that was a great. It was a great end line for you.
It was a great
vagina is tired.
My vagina is tired.
To please everybody.
Thinking about
it. All of our fans, I aim to please.
Well, this was a good one, and
it was a very good one.
We'll see what's going to be on the horizon.
And a lot of lessons there in this that we brought out. So people, please pay attention and rewind to some of the lessons we talked about and not getting involved in these kinds of things in your life.
If you sign up for a yoga class, it should be a yoga class.
Thank you to everyone for listening. Next up, we talk about an episode of Dirty Rotten Scandals, The Price is Right.
Our theme music is written and performed by Midnight Current. Check out more of their work on SoundCloud. For more about us and to catch up on every episode of Pod Candy, head over to podcandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you love our podcast, consider donating any amount to buymeacoffee.com/podcandy. Every bit helps us keep creating the true crime, cult, and pop culture stories you can't stop listening to.
So people can buy us a cup of coffee?
Pod Candy!